Here are 4 price targets that I have for Turbo in 2025. And my worst case scenario price target is going to be 30 cents, even though nothing I say is financial advice. And again, by the way, 50 cents is still my bullish case scenario price target, but sometimes people want to know my worst case. So I'm going to talk about it. And again, 30 cents, why is that not too crazy? It's because, first of all, I think Turbo is a very special meme coin. It's a meme coin created by AI. Doesn't mean it's a AI project by any means, but then it's a good marketing gimmick. That's the way to take a look at it. Because let's face it, I think that pretty much is what it is, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. There's around 50,000 holders when it comes to Turbo, so clearly this is working. Not to mention, Turbo is listed in over 100 spot exchanges, which is insane, by the way. Many meme coins out there, they can't even get in 5, let alone 10. So this right here, I think, showcases that Turbo is getting that recognition as being one of the mainstays. And despite having these other meme coins out there that have somewhat of an AI aspect, I still do believe that Turbo is always going to be regarded as the OG in a sense. Because if people think about Layer 1 blockchains, what do they think about? They think about Solana, they think about Ethereum, they think about, they like BNB. Much like when people think about tissue paper, what they think about? They think about Kleenex. So the way I view it is that when it comes to Turbo, when people usually think about a meme coin created by AI, even though there's other meme coins out there that have this AI aspect, I think most often than not, people are going to say, hey, Turbo. So the way I take a look at it is that Turbo, it has this grip in this very unique niche. Now, again, it doesn't have this stronghold grip on the meme coin space, but when it comes to a meme coin created by AI or just a meme coin having an AI aspect in general, I think it has a grip on that. And I think that right there is absolutely fantastic because instead of trying to be a big fish in a big pond, they understand that, hey, let's be a big fish in a small pond. And why not? There's no need to make things harder after all. Now, people may think that, okay, Turbo doesn't have this driven community, it's caca, this type of stuff. But you got to think about how when it comes to the community, it's actually very impressive. Again, when you have around 50,000 holders, that's very amazing. And even despite Turbo having a price pullback, as of right now, the community is very neutral in a sense that they don't give up very easily. Now, why is a community that gives up pretty easily bad? It's because the way you take a look at it is that social proof does matter. Think about this. Let's say I want to buy a product on Amazon that, let's say I tried in real life from my friend. Let's say I bought like a very nice wallet, or let's say I'm trying to buy a nice wallet, right? And then I test it out in real life with my friend, and then I look at the reviews on Amazon, and let's say the reviews are completely bad. It's like 2 stars, 1 stars. Even though I think that this wallet is good, because I see those bad reviews, I may be swayed. I may be thinking, okay, it's actually bad. After all, I'll be like, oh yeah, no, I don't want to get that. Now, again, social proof does matter because if let's say 11 people believe in something, usually the 12th person may believe in that too, even though it may not be true. Let's say like someone thinks a wallet is bad, 11 people say, hey, it's bad. The 12th person may think it's bad, even though they think it's good. So again, having negative, reviews or let's say bad reviews that are critiquing the product for no reason, that could be bad news when it comes to, let's say, someone who's selling that product, right? So when it comes to a meme coin or just like any crypto project in general, a very volatile, or should I say very negative community, that could be very bad for that project. But again, when it comes to Turbo, that's not the case. With other meme coins, that it seems to be the case, by the way. But then again, this isn't the case here. So this is what I really like about it. And it's pretty hard to have this very strong community. Very few projects can achieve this. So the way I view it is that Turbo, again, they just have this luck aspect to them. They're just very lucky in a sense that they're a meme coin that took off and they actually have a very good community. You take a look at, for instance, Book a Meme. Book a Meme is a very big meme coin, pretty much one of the biggest out there, but the community doesn't feel that passionate. Nothing wrong with that, but in my opinion, when you take a look at Turbo, you can feel the passion, you can feel the drive, you can feel the energy. You know what I mean? Even though Turbo, back in early September when it was doing very bad, I'm talking about 2024 here, when I was talking about Turbo then, people were still believing in Turbo then, which is very amazed. You know what? They still believed in it, and so did I. So when you take a look at Turbo, again, very special meme coin, listed in a bunch of major exchanges, not to mention it's beginning to have a little bit of utility in a sense, because there is something called Turbo Swap, which is basically a decentralized exchange. Also, there's something called the Turbo Chain. Now, this is through something called Aura Labs. Is this going to be the 2 biggest things out there of all time? Absolutely not. But again, it shows that Turbo really isn't that lazy, at least in my opinion. Now, also, you take a look at something regarding Motorverse. Now, this is focused on the aspect of motorsports, and if you take a look at Turbo, it somewhat had an association with that. And you may be thinking, okay, who cares about Motorverse? Now, that right there is actually a subsidiary of Animoca Brands. But before people trash Animoca Brands, that, by the way, at one point was worth around $5 billion. So we're talking about a real deal company here. Not to mention Animoca, you take a look at another very famous subsidiary that they have, and that right there is something called Sandbox, which is pretty much one of the biggest metaverses out there. I would arguably say that it's pretty much number one in terms of the reputation and also in terms of the fans and the community. Again, that's arguable though, but in my opinion, arguably I would say it's number one, even though a lot of the hype for the metaverse did kind of disappear. But even despite that, I think Turbo is heading in the right direction. They understand when to kind of improve and when to not, because they're not necessarily trying to be this AOS or like an artificial super intelligence alliance, or let's say like a BitTensor, where it's a project that's really focused on AI. There's no need for that. They don't need to waste resources on that because they are a meme coin after all. That's not necessary. But again, having a partnership in a sense with a subsidiary of Animoca Brands, also on top of that, having TurboSwap, TurboChain through Aurora Labs, that right there, I think is a good step in the right direction. Not necessarily that it needs it 100%, but then it's a good step again in the right direction. And they understand when to make the moves. And that right there is why I really like Turbo. And again, at the price of 30 cents, I really don't see why not during this bull run. Now, my next price target is going to be Turbo at the price of 35 cents, which isn't too bad, by the way. If it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $23 billion, which isn't too bad. We've seen Shiba Inu reach around 40 billion, Dogecoin reach over 80 billion. And if people watch the previous section in which I explain how amazing Turbo is, I think they understand that it's actually much better than Shiba Inu and Dogecoin, at least in my opinion. I'm not saying it's going to defeat it, but if something like Dogecoin can reach over 80 billion, if something like SHIB can reach around 40 billion, why can't Turbo at least reach around 23 billion? That's just my opinion. Now, my third price target for Turbo is going to be 40 cents, which again, I don't think is too bad because people may think that, oh yeah, it doesn't have the exposure to allow for this to happen. But again, I disagree. Much like I mentioned in my video section where I talked about Turbo's fundamentals, keep in mind, Turbo is listed in over 100 spot exchanges. You got to think about this. Why was Shiba Inu and Dogecoin so popular? It's because they were pretty much listed everywhere. If they weren't, they wouldn't be this good. Let's face it, they just wouldn't. Because in my opinion, it's very difficult to believe in something that we don't know exists. It's like, for instance, if let's say I'm using this shirt, this very nice Abercrombie & Fitch shirt, by the way, but even besides that point, if I've never seen this shirt, how will I know what color it is? How will I know what the design looks like? How will I know even if I like it or not? You know what I mean? Like, or let alone, how would I even know it exists if I've never seen this model? But of course, I've seen it. I bought it online. And again, that just makes logical sense, right? So when I take a look at something like a meme coin or just like any project in general, if it's not listed in a bunch of major exchanges, it's pretty difficult to gain this massive following. Not to say that it can't do that. We've seen in some cases they are able to, but then still it's going to make it easier, if that makes sense. And also during a fully fledged bull run, it's easier to access, easier to generate this buying pressure, buying volume. So when it comes to Turbo, for instance, being listed in some place like KuCoin, which is pretty much one of the biggest exchanges out there, and also Binance, arguably number one, at least according to many people, the way I take a look at it is that, again, 40 cents, why not? Considering current circulating supply would be around $26 billion. That's still around $60 billion less than Dogecoin's all-time high market cap. I don't think it's too bad. Now, my fourth and final price target for Turbo is, of course, going to be 50 cents. Now, again, market cap, considering current circulating supply at that point, would be around nearly $33 billion. That is around a 60x from here, by the way. I don't think it's crazy, especially with everything I mentioned throughout this video. Not to mention, when you take a look at how there's over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, that's more than ever before in history. This could really generate a bunch of FOMO, buying pressure, and buying volume during this bull run. Not to mention, people are very knowledgeable when it comes to meme coins. Back in 2021, it was pretty much just Shiba Inu and Dogecoin. people didn't really know much about meme coins. But I think as of right now, people are more well informed. There's more content. There's more things to actually study about. So I think this right here is really going to create a perfect storm. Not to mention, if you take a look at how there's the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, all of this right here is very positive. And I think Bitcoin, even though it's hovering around $100,000 and it's kind of having a difficult time breaching this next level of like 150,000, even despite that, I do believe better days are ahead, because I think Turbo is really going to be a big narrative during this bull run, because I do believe that there's brighter days ahead when it comes to the crypto space overall. And again, why wouldn't there, if there is over 600 million crypto owners as we speak, more than ever before in history? Now, people may be thinking, okay, how soon? And this actually brings me to my point as to why I'm talking about 2025 more specifically. It's because if you take a look at altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they usually peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, if we base this off the last Bitcoin halving event, this would actually mean around October of this year, which is why I called this video 2025. Price targets, my 4 price targets again, by the way. But even besides that, things could happen maybe a little bit later or slightly a little bit sooner. Who knows? We just don't really know the exact date. But I think 2025, near the end of it, sort of gives a good benchmark, again, as a worst case scenario. Now, granted, history isn't necessarily always going to repeat itself, but again, I think this is a good benchmark to evaluate. Now, people may think that, okay, when it comes to my buying strategy, must be going all in and all this type of stuff. No, that's never been the case. Even back in early September, when the price of Turbo was doing complete caca, I never went all in. But then because I was consistently accumulating, and even on the way up, I was constantly accumulating, hypothetically, even despite this price pullback, I'm still up by a pretty good amount. I'm not saying that, I'm going to randomly just dump all in once Turbo goes to this price. I'm not going to do that. What I do is I invest consistently. Now, it's all financial advice, but anytime an income, acquire, hold, and I just wait. I haven't sold any Turbo, and I don't plan to in the next week or whatever, because some people like to say, oh yeah, I'm going to buy Turbo and then cash out at this exact date, in 1 week. It just doesn't make sense. I don't do that. That's not my style. Some people do that. That's totally their choice, but I'm not a swing trader. I don't day trade. I don't use leverage. That's not my vibe. I like to keep things simple. Again, acquire, hold, and I just wait. Dollar cost averaging. And again, I think 2025 could be a special year, and reaching the price of 50 cents, I don't see why not, even though that's not financial advice. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's Malik the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.